My girlfriend left me for my best friend. She didn't know I bought a house. The text message came at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. I remember the exact time because I was debugging code for my latest project, fueled by my third Red Bull of the night. The blue light from my phone cut through the darkness of my apartment, and Sarah's name glowed on the screen. We need to talk. Can you meet me tomorrow at Riverside Park? 6 p.m. by the old oak tree. Something about the formality made my stomach drop. Sarah never texted like that. Usually, it was emojis and inside jokes, casual plans made with the assumption that we'd see each other anyway. We'd been together 3 years, since college, and lived 20 minutes apart in downtown Portland. Formal requests for meetings weren't our style. I stared at the message for a solid 10 minutes before typing back a simple, sure. Then I tried to return to my code, but the variables and functions blurred together. My mind kept drifting to the manila envelope hidden in my desk drawer, the one containing the deed to 1247, Maple Street, a gorgeous 1920s craftsman with original hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and a kitchen that Sarah had swooned over when we'd walked past it 6 months ago. God, can you imagine living somewhere like that? She'd said, squeezing my hand. It's like something out of a magazine. I'd made a mental note that day. Started saving harder. Picked up additional freelance projects. Ate ramen for lunch 4 days a week and skipped my usual Friday night beers with Jake, my best friend since middle school. Every dollar went toward the down payment. $127,000 I'd scraped together over 18 months, living like a monk while everyone thought I was just being responsible with my software engineer salary. The house went on the market 3 weeks ago. I put in an offer the same day, cash, 20% over asking. The sellers accepted within hours. I'd been planning the perfect moment to tell Sarah, maybe even propose with the house keys instead of just a ring. Our future home, mortgage-free, ready for the life I thought we were building together. But now she wanted to talk at our old spot, where I'd first told her I loved her junior year. Wednesday dragged by in slow motion. I pushed code around without accomplishing anything meaningful, my productivity shot. My manager, David, asked if I was feeling okay during our daily stand-up. I mumbled something about a late night and too much caffeine. At 5:45 p.m., I parked near Riverside Park and walked the familiar path. The oak tree came into view, massive and comforting, its branches reaching toward the cloudy Oregon sky. Sarah was already there, but she wasn't alone. Jake stood next to her, his hand resting on her lower back in a gesture I'd seen him make with his own girlfriends over the years. Protective. Intimate. The kind of touch that spoke of ownership, of familiarity earned in private moments. My chest tightened as understanding crashed over me. The formal text. The neutral meeting location. Jake's presence. This wasn't just a conversation about our relationship problems or Sarah needing space. This was an execution, and they'd both signed the death warrant. I approached slowly, gravel crunching under my feet. Sarah looked up, her brown eyes filled with something between guilt and determination. Jake wouldn't meet my gaze. Hi, Sarah said softly. Thanks for coming. The manila envelope in my car felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. How long? The words came out steadier than I felt. I kept my distance, about 10 feet away, close enough to see the guilt written across both their faces but far enough that I wouldn't do something stupid. Sarah's fingers twisted around the silver bracelet I'd given her for her birthday last month. $340 from a boutique on Pearl Street, bought with money I should have saved for house expenses. 2 months, she whispered. 2 months. I did the math automatically, it was what my brain did when stressed, processed everything like code. 2 months ago was March. The company party where Jake had driven Sarah home because I was stuck debugging a critical system failure until 3 a.m. The weekend I'd worked a freelance project in Seattle and they'd grabbed dinner together because it was weird that we never hung out without you. The Tuesday she'd canceled our weekly dinner because she wasn't feeling great but posted an Instagram story at McMenamin's 5 hours later. March 15th, I said, not asking. The night I was fixing the authentication server crash. Jake finally looked up, his face flushed. We'd been friends for 16 years. I'd been the best man at his wedding to Melissa, which had imploded spectacularly 8 months ago when she caught him with a coworker. I'd helped him move out of their apartment, listened to him cry about being alone, loaned him $3,000 when his lawyer fees piled up. Money I'd planned to spend on an engagement ring, though I'd never told him that. Dude, we didn't plan this, he started, running his hands through his dark hair the way he always did when he was about to lie. It just happened. Things don't just happen, Jake. My voice was getting louder. A jogger with earbuds glanced our way as she passed. You make choices. Both of you made choices. Sarah stepped forward, her eyes glistening. We tried to stop it. We knew it was wrong. But the connection we have. What connection? The laugh that escaped me was harsh, foreign. You mean the connection where you discovered shared interests in lying and sneaking around? Or the connection where you both decided to blow up the most important relationship in my life? Don't be dramatic, Sarah said, and there was the flash of irritation I'd started seeing more often over the past few months. The eye roll when I'd mention working late again. The heavy sigh when I'd suggest staying in instead of going to expensive restaurants. Little signs I'd attributed to normal relationship friction, not her falling for my best friend behind my back. Dramatic. I repeated the word slowly. Sarah, we've been talking about moving in together. About getting married. Last month you asked me about kids' names. That was just conversation. No, it wasn't just conversation to me. The manila envelope felt radioactive in my memory. I'd been so proud of myself, so excited to see her face when I told her I'd done it. Bought us a future. When were you going to tell me? Were you going to tell me? They exchanged a look that confirmed my worst suspicion. I wasn't part of the plan going forward, I was just an obstacle they hadn't figured out how to remove cleanly. We wanted to find the right time, Jake said. After your project launches next month, maybe when things were less stressful for you. Less stressful. As if there would ever be a convenient time to discover that your girlfriend of 3 years and your childhood best friend had decided you were disposable. Less stressful, I repeated, the words tasting bitter. You mean less stressing for you too? This has nothing to do with my project timeline. Sarah's phone buzzed and she glanced at it reflexively. Even now, even during this conversation, she couldn't give me her full attention. The same behavior I'd been noticing for weeks, the constant phone checking, the secretive smiles, the way she tilted the screen away from me when we were watching Netflix together. Who's texting you? I asked. Nobody. Just work stuff. She shoved the phone into her jacket pocket, but not before I caught a glimpse of Jake's name on the screen. They were texting each other while standing 3 feet apart, having a conversation about ending my relationship. The audacity was breathtaking. Jake cleared his throat. Look, man, we know this is fucked up. We know we handled it wrong. But you have to understand. I have to understand. The words came out louder than I intended. A couple walking their dog across the park looked over with concern. Jake, explain to me what I have to understand about you screwing my girlfriend. We fell in love, Sarah said quietly, her chin lifting in defiance. I know that's not what you want to hear, but it's the truth. What Jake and I have, it's different. It's deeper than what you and I had. Different. Deeper. Each word was a knife twist. I thought about all the nights I'd stayed late at the office, grinding through code, taking on extra freelance work, living on caffeine and determination. I thought I was building something for us. Apparently, I'd just been giving them more time together. How deep can it be after 2 months? I asked. Sarah, we've been together 3 years. We've talked about marriage, about buying a house. But we never actually did any of those things, she interrupted. We just talked about them. Jake and I, we're actually taking action. We're getting a place together. My stomach dropped. You're moving in together. Jake nodded, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. We found a place in the Pearl District. 2-bedroom, nice building. The rent's steep, $3,400 a month, but Sarah got that promotion at the marketing agency, and my consulting work is picking up. $3,400 a month. I did the math automatically, $40,800 a year, just for housing. More than I'd spent on my entire house purchase. They were going to spend almost 4 times my annual property taxes on rent, every single year, for a place they'd never own. When? I asked. We're signing the lease Friday, Sarah said. Move-in date is May 1st. 4 days from now. They'd planned this down to the day, figured out logistics, toured apartments, filled out applications. All while Sarah was still sleeping in my bed twice a week, still saying she loved me, still wearing the bracelet I bought her. Does Melissa know? I asked Jake. His ex-wife and I had stayed friendly after their divorce. She'd actually texted me 2 weeks ago asking if I wanted to grab coffee and vent about Jake's latest bullshit, but I'd been too busy with work to respond. Jake's face went pale. Know what? That you're moving in with Sarah. You're still paying her $1,800 a month in temporary spousal support until August. How are you planning to swing $3,400 in rent plus $1,800 to your ex-wife? The silence stretched between us. Jake's consulting work was sporadic at best. He'd been asking me for referrals for months, complaining about how hard it was to find steady clients. Sarah's promotion was recent, and I knew from our conversations about budgeting that she was still paying off $23,000 in student loans. We'll figure it out, Sarah said, but her voice lacked conviction. People make it work. They hadn't thought this through. They were running on infatuation and adrenaline, making decisions with their hearts instead of their heads. In 6 months, when the novelty wore off and the bills piled up, they'd be drowning. And I'd be sitting in my paid-off Craftsman, watching it all fall apart. We'll make it work because we actually communicate, Sarah said, and there was an edge to her voice now. We don't just assume what the other person wants. The implication hit like a slap. What's that supposed to mean? You never asked me what I wanted, Marcus. You just decided. Late nights at work, weekend projects, turning down every invitation because you're always saving money for some theoretical future. She gestured between us. When was the last time we went somewhere nice? Did something spontaneous? I was saving for us. You were saving for some fantasy version of us that existed only in your head. Her brown eyes were blazing now, months of apparently suppressed resentment pouring out. Jake actually listens to me. He wants to travel, to experience life now instead of waiting for some perfect moment that might never come. Travel. I bit back the urge to ask how they'd afford travel on their budget. Jake still owed me the $3,000 from his divorce lawyer, money he promised to pay back as soon as things stabilized. That was 4 months ago. Sarah, I was trying to build stability. Stability. She practically spat the word. God, Marcus, you sound like my father. Everything's always about the future with you. Future plans, future security, future. What about right now? Jake nodded along like a bobblehead. That's what I've been trying to tell her, man. Life's happening now. We can't wait forever. The hypocrisy was staggering. Jake had spent the last 8 months crying about his divorce, about how he'd rushed into marriage without really knowing Melissa, about how he wished he'd been more careful with money. Now he was preaching about living in the moment while signing a lease that would consume 60% of their combined income. How's Melissa going to feel about this? I asked Jake directly. About you moving in with someone new while you're still paying her spousal support. His face darkened. That's none of her business. The divorce was finalized in January. The support payments weren't. And wasn't there a clause about cohabitation affecting the terms? I'd helped him organize his legal documents when he'd moved out. I remembered reading something about how living with a new partner could modify the support agreement. Jake's silence was answer enough. Sarah looked between us, confusion flickering across her face. What clause? She asked. It's not important, Jake said quickly. Marcus is just trying to. The cohabitation clause typically reduces or eliminates spousal support if the paying party establishes a new domestic partnership, I explained, my software engineer brain switching to research mode. Most divorce settlements include them. If Jake's paying Melissa $1,800 a month and moves in with you, she can petition the court to maintain those payments since his living expenses haven't actually decreased, they've just shifted to a new relationship. Sarah's face went white. Jake, you said the payments would stop when we moved in together. They will, he said, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. Eventually. The lawyer said it might take a few months to process the paperwork. A few months of an extra $1,800 per month they hadn't budgeted for. Their dream apartment in the Pearl District was starting to look like a financial nightmare. Jesus, Jake, Sarah whispered. We can't afford $3,400 plus your payments to Melissa. That's over $5,000 a month just for housing. The math was brutal, and I could see her doing the calculations in real time. Her promotion had bumped her salary to $67,000, decent for Portland, but not enough to carry a financial disaster. Jake's consulting brought in maybe $40,000 on a good year. We'll figure it out, Jake repeated, but his voice cracked slightly. They were about to step off a financial cliff, and they were too drunk on new relationship energy to see the ground rushing up toward them. I watched the reality hit them in real time. Sarah pulled out her phone and opened what looked like a calculator app, her fingers flying across the screen. Jake stood there looking like a kid who'd been caught lying about his report card. Jake, Sarah's voice was tight. Your consulting income last month was what, exactly? It was a slow month. How much? $2,800. He kicked at a loose stone. But I've got 3 leads this week, and Marcus, you said you might have some referrals. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't put this on me. I'm not going to be your financial backup plan while you're sleeping with my girlfriend. The word girlfriend hung in the air awkwardly. Ex-girlfriend, I supposed, though we'd never officially had that conversation. It was just implied by the fact that she was making housing plans with someone else. Sarah's phone buzzed again. This time she answered it, stepping a few feet away. Hi, Mom. No, I can't talk right now. What? Tonight? She glanced back at Jake and me. I'm kind of in the middle of something. Yes, it's about Marcus. My stomach clenched. She was already discussing our breakup with her family. How long had this conversation been happening? How many people knew about Jake before I did? Tell her we'll call her back later, Jake said, moving closer to Sarah. No, Sarah said into the phone. Actually, can you hold on? She covered the microphone and looked at me. My mom wants to know if you're still coming to dinner Sunday. She's making your favorite lasagna. The casual cruelty of it hit me like a truck. Sarah's mom, Linda, had been planning a dinner. For me. Because she thought I was still part of the family. Because she didn't know her daughter had been cheating for 2 months. What did you tell her about us? I asked. Sarah's cheeks flushed. Nothing yet. I wanted to talk to you first before we made any announcements. But you've already signed a lease with Jake. We're signing it Friday, Jake corrected. We wanted to tell you before we made it official. The timeline was insulting. They'd planned to break up with me on Wednesday so they could sign their lease on Friday with clear consciences. Clean breakup, no overlap, technically not cheating if I wasn't her boyfriend when they moved in together. They'd choreographed this entire conversation. Tell your mom I won't be coming to dinner, I said to Sarah. Tell her whatever you want about why. Sarah nodded and lifted the phone back to her ear. Mom. Yeah, Marcus can't make it. No, we'll talk about it later. I love you too. She hung up and immediately started typing a text message. Who are you texting now? I asked. My sister. She's supposed to bring her kids to meet you on Saturday. Sarah's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was discussing a grocery list. I need to cancel. More plans. More people who'd been looking forward to seeing me, who had no idea their family dinners and weekend visits were about to be reorganized around Sarah's new boyfriend. My replacement had already been chosen, they just needed to announce the casting change. How many people know? I asked. Jake and Sarah exchanged another look. Know what? Sarah asked. About you too. How many people have you told? The silence stretched long enough to give me my answer. Marcus, Jake started. How many? A few people, Sarah admitted. My sister figured it out last week. And Jake told his brother. What about our friends? Nobody else, Jake said quickly. We wanted to tell you first. But I could see the lie in his face. Jake had never been able to keep a secret, not since we were 12 years old. If he'd told his brother, he'd probably told half our friend group. I was likely the last to know about my own relationship ending. My phone buzzed. A text from Danny, one of our mutual friends. Hey man, you doing okay? Jake mentioned you and Sarah were having some problems. Problems. Like this was a rough patch we were working through instead of a systematic betrayal that had been going on for 2 months. I showed them the text. Nobody else knows. Jake's face went red. I might have mentioned to Danny that things seemed tense with you guys. When? Last week. While Sarah was still sleeping over at my apartment twice a week. While we were still splitting dinner bills and making plans for next month. While I was working 60-hour weeks to finish the project so I could surprise her with the house. The house. Sitting there with my name on the deed, empty and waiting for a future that would never come. I pulled out my own phone and started scrolling through our group chat from last weekend. There it was, Jake asking if anyone wanted to grab drinks Saturday night, mentioning he had some news to share. 5 guys had shown up to that hangout. 5 guys who probably spent the evening hearing about how Jake was stealing my girlfriend while I was home working on the Blackstone client deliverables. The group chat, I said, holding up my phone. Saturday night at Deschutes Brewery. What exactly did you tell them? Jake's face went pale. I didn't give details. But you told them you were with Sarah. I said we were figuring things out. We. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. There is no we that includes both of you, Jake. There's you and her, and there's me finding out that my entire social circle has been watching this happen for a week. Sarah stepped closer, her voice pleading. Marcus, it wasn't like that. We were trying to be respectful. Respectful would have been telling me in March when it started. My voice was rising again. Respectful would have been breaking up with me before you started apartment hunting with my best friend. We were scared, she said. We didn't know how to handle it. So you decided to handle it by lying to everyone while you played house behind my back. I pulled up Instagram on my phone and scrolled back through Sarah's posts. There, 4 days ago. A photo of coffee and pastries from that new place on Hawthorne, tagged with a location but no people. But in the reflection of the window behind the table, you could just make out Jake's profile. I turned the phone toward them. Respectful. Sarah's face crumpled. You're analyzing my social media posts. I'm trying to figure out when my relationship actually ended, since apparently it wasn't today. I scrolled further back. 3 weeks ago, a photo of her hands holding a set of apartment keys with the caption, New Adventures Ahead. I'd assumed she meant work stuff. She'd gotten a promotion around then. These aren't your keys, I said, showing her the post. You were touring apartments 3 weeks ago. Jake shifted uncomfortably. The landlord let us take some photos. With keys. I zoomed in on the image. These are actual keys, not showing keys. You've already moved some stuff in, haven't you? The silence was deafening. Sarah, I said slowly, where's your grandmother's china cabinet? The one that was in your living room? Her apartment had felt different the last few times I'd been there, but I'd attributed it to spring cleaning. Now I was remembering specific gaps. The cabinet. Her college textbooks. The good blender I bought her for Christmas. I moved some things into storage, she whispered. Storage. Or your new apartment with Jake. A few things, Jake admitted. Just to see how they'd fit with the layout. They'd been moving in together for weeks. This wasn't a new decision, this was the final step in a plan that had been in motion since March. While I'd been saving every penny for a house down payment, eating ramen and working weekends, they'd been playing house with her grandmother's furniture. What about the cast iron skillet? I asked. The one I got you from that kitchen store in Nob Hill. Sarah couldn't meet my eyes. It's in Jake's car. My cast iron skillet. The one I'd spent an hour picking out, listening to the sales guy explain the seasoning process. I'd given it to her for our 2-year anniversary because she'd mentioned wanting to learn to cook better. Now it was packed up in my best friend's Honda, ready for their new life together. I want it back, I said. Marcus, Jake started. I want the skillet back. And the KitchenAid mixer. And the first edition of Dune I lent you in February. I was thinking more clearly now, inventory ng 3 years of shared gifts and borrowed items. Actually, I want everything back. That's petty, Sarah said. What's petty is moving my stuff out of your apartment to make room for your new boyfriend while still pretending we had a future together. The confrontation was interrupted by Jake's phone ringing. The name, Melissa, flashed on his screen, and his face went ashen. Don't answer it, Sarah said quickly. But Jake was already swiping to accept. Hey Mel, what's up? I couldn't hear Melissa's side of the conversation, but I could tell from Jake's expression that it wasn't good news. His responses were clipped, yeah. No, I didn't. When did she call you? After 2 minutes of increasingly uncomfortable silence, he hung up. What was that about? Sarah asked. Jake ran his hands through his hair, the tell that meant he was about to deliver bad news. Melissa's lawyer called her an hour ago. Someone told her I was planning to move in with a girlfriend. My stomach dropped, but not out of sympathy. Someone. Her neighbors saw us loading boxes into my car last weekend, Jake said miserably. She recognized Sarah from my Facebook photos. Sarah's face went white. What does that mean for the lease? It means, Jake said slowly, that Melissa's filing an emergency motion to continue spousal support at the current rate. Her lawyer says since I'm taking on additional household expenses with a new relationship, my financial obligations to her shouldn't decrease. The math hit them both simultaneously. $1,800 monthly spousal support, continuing indefinitely, on top of $3,400 rent. Their dream apartment had just become financially impossible. Can you fight it? Sarah asked. With what money? Jake's voice cracked. I still owe Davidson and Associates $1,200 from the divorce. They're not taking any more cases for me until I pay that off. I watched their perfect plan disintegrate in real time. 3 weeks of secret apartment shopping, careful lease negotiations, excited furniture arrangements, all collapsing because they hadn't thought past the fantasy of playing house together. We could find a cheaper place, Sarah said weakly. The lease is for 2 years, Jake reminded her. And we already paid the deposit. First month, last month, and security, that's $8,400 we can't get back if we don't sign Friday. $8,400. More than I spent on property taxes, homeowners insurance, and utilities combined for an entire year. They'd blown through their savings before they'd even gotten the keys. Wait, Sarah said, turning to Jake with growing panic in her voice. Where did you get $8,400? Your consulting income last month was $2,800. Jake's silence was deafening. Jake, she pressed. Where did the deposit money come from? I borrowed it, he mumbled. From who? My parents. Sarah stared at him. Your parents think you're using their money to move in with me. I told them it was for a fresh start after the divorce. They don't know about us. The lies were compounding. Jake had borrowed almost $9,000 from his parents under false pretenses, signed a lease he couldn't afford, and triggered a legal battle with his ex-wife. All for a relationship that was 8 weeks old. So let me get this straight, I said, my anger crystallizing into something colder and more focused. You've lied to your parents, your ex-wife, our friends, and Sarah's family. You've committed to housing costs that will eat 80% of your combined income. And you've dragged Sarah into a financial nightmare because you couldn't keep it in your pants. Don't talk to him like that, Sarah snapped, but her voice lacked conviction. Sarah, I said gently, he's done this exact same thing before. With Melissa. The rushed decisions, the financial overextension, the lies to family. How did that work out? Her face crumpled as the pattern became clear. Jake's phone rang again, his parents this time. He stared at the screen like it was a venomous snake. You have to answer, Sarah said. If Melissa's lawyer is calling around, they might have heard something. Jake accepted the call with shaking hands. Hi, Mom. Yeah, I'm good. What? No, I haven't seen the news. His face drained of color. Can you send me the link? He hung up and immediately started typing on his phone. After 30 seconds, he looked up with pure terror in his eyes. What? Sarah demanded. The Oregonian published their weekly real estate report, Jake said weakly. The one that lists notable sales in different neighborhoods. My blood turned to ice. The house. My house purchase would be in the public records, and the Oregonian always featured interesting properties in their Sunday edition. Craftsman homes from the 1920s definitely qualified as interesting. Jake held up his phone, and I could see the headline, Software Engineer Pays Cash for Historic Craftsman in Laurelhurst. Marcus Chen, 28, purchased the 2,400 square foot home at 1247 Maple Street for $347,000 in an all-cash transaction, Jake read aloud. The property, built in 1923, features original hardwood floors, a renovated kitchen, and a wraparound porch. Chen, who works as a senior developer at Pixel Dynamics, said he plans to restore the home's original character while adding modern amenities. Sarah's mouth fell open. You bought a house. The manila envelope in my car suddenly felt like a nuclear weapon. I was going to tell you. When? Her voice was barely a whisper. Tonight, actually. I had dinner reservations at Le Pigeon. I was going to give you the keys with dessert. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Jake was staring at his phone screen, probably calculating the difference between my mortgage-free Craftsman and their financially ruinous rental. Sarah looked like she'd been hit by a truck. $347,000, she said slowly. You paid cash. 18 months of saving, I confirmed. Every freelance project, every skipped dinner out, every weekend I worked instead of going to the coast with you guys. It was all for this. The house we walked past, Sarah whispered. The one I said looked like a magazine. You said you could imagine living there. So I bought it. For us. Jake was still scrolling through the article. Jesus Christ, Marcus. The property taxes alone are less than what we're paying per month for parking in the Pearl District. $1,200 annually, I said. Plus another $800 for insurance and about $2,000 for utilities. My total housing costs are under $4,000 per year. Sarah did the math in her head, I could see her lips moving slightly. We're spending more on rent every single month than you spend on housing all year. And that's if Jake's spousal support situation gets resolved quickly, I added. If Melissa's lawyer is competent, you're looking at over $60,000 annually just for housing. The reality was hitting them like consecutive punches. Their romantic rebellion against my boring financial planning had led them straight into a debt trap that would take years to escape. The article mentions renovations, Jake said, still reading. What kind of renovations? I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd taken during the final walkthrough. The kitchen with its restored 1920s cabinets and new granite countertops. The master bathroom with the clawfoot tub Sarah had always dreamed about. The finished basement I planned to convert into her art studio. I was going to propose in the kitchen, I said, showing them the images. Right by the window where you can see the garden. I had the whole thing planned. Sarah started crying then, not the pretty tears from earlier, but ugly, devastating sobs that shook her whole body. Jake looked like he wanted to comfort her but didn't know if he was allowed to in front of me. We fucked up, she gasped between sobs. We completely fucked up. The admission hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. My phone buzzed with a text notification. Danny again, dude, just saw the Oregonian article. Holy shit, you bought the Maple Street house. That place is gorgeous. Can't wait to see it. Then another notification. And another. Our entire friend group was seeing the article, probably sharing it in group chats I was no longer part of thanks to Jake's big mouth last weekend. How many people are texting you? Sarah asked, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I glanced at my phone. 7 unread messages and counting. Pretty much everyone we know. Jake's phone started buzzing too. His face went from pale to green as he read his messages. Shit. My brother's asking why I didn't mention you were buying a house when I told him about Sarah. Because you were too busy bragging about stealing my girlfriend to think about what else you might not know about my life, I said. Another text came through from my coworker Lisa, OMG Marcus. Saw your house in the paper. It's the one you showed us photos of last month, right? The one you said was your someday house. You actually did it. House party popper. Last month. I'd shown my coworkers the listing during lunch, talking about how it was my dream home but probably out of reach for a few more years. I'd been lying even then, because the paperwork was already in progress. I'd wanted the surprise to be perfect. Your coworkers knew about the house? Sarah asked, reading over my shoulder. I showed them the listing. They didn't know I was actually buying it. My phone buzzed again. Another congratulations, another excited message from someone who thought this was a celebration instead of the world's most expensive consolation prize. Jake was scrolling through what looked like a text thread with his brother. David's asking if I knew about the house before I decided to move in with you. He looked up at me with something between guilt and panic. He says it makes me look like an idiot. You are an idiot, I said flatly. You gave up a friend with a paid-off house for a relationship that's going to bankrupt both of you. Sarah's phone rang. Her sister's name flashed on the screen. I have to take this, she said, stepping away again. Hi, Kate. Yes, I saw it. No, I had no idea. What? How did Mom find out? She walked further away, but I could still hear fragments. Didn't tell me anything. Yes, we're still together. Well, it's complicated. Jake and I stood in uncomfortable silence, watching Sarah pace back and forth under the trees. 8 months ago, I'd stood in this exact spot helping him process his divorce, listening to him swear he'd never rush into anything again. Your brother's right, I said quietly. You do look like an idiot. But not because of the timing. Marcus. You're about to make the exact same mistakes you made with Melissa. Financial overextension, rushing into cohabitation, lying to your family about money. I pulled up a calculator app on my phone. Want to see the math on your new life? He didn't answer, but I did the calculation anyway. $6,600 a month for housing if Melissa's lawyer is competent. Your consulting income average is $3,500 monthly. Sarah's new salary is about $5,600 after taxes. That's $9,900 in combined monthly income, with $6,600 going to housing. Leaving you $3,300 for everything else. We'll make it work, Jake said, but his voice was hollow. Food, utilities, car payments, gas, insurance, Sarah's student loans, what's left of those? 23 grand. I kept typing. That's another $1,900 monthly minimum. You'll have $1,400 a month for literally everything else. And that's assuming your consulting income stays steady and Sarah never gets sick or needs time off. Jake's phone buzzed with another text from his brother. Dad's asking if you need the deposit money back. He saw the Oregonian article and put two and two together. Shit, Jake whispered. They know. The dominoes were falling faster now. Jake's phone rang, his father's name on the screen. Jake stared at it like it might explode. Answer it, Sarah said, walking back over with tears still streaming down her face. My sister says Mom's been calling everyone in the family. She's confused about why I didn't know you bought a house, Marcus. She keeps asking if we're really still together. Jake accepted his father's call with a shaking hand. Hi, Dad. Yeah, I saw the article. No, Marcus didn't tell me he was buying a house. What do you mean, why didn't I know? I could hear his father's voice through the phone, not the words, but the tone. Disappointed. Confused. The tone of a parent realizing their kid had made another spectacularly poor decision. Dad, I can explain. No, the deposit money isn't for Marcus's house. Because we're not buying together. It's for a different place. Jake walked a few steps away, but his voice carried. An apartment in the Pearl District. No, it's not cheaper than buying. Yes, I know Marcus just proved that buying is possible. Sarah was scrolling through her own phone now, her face getting paler by the minute. Oh God. My mom posted about your house on Facebook. She's congratulating you and asking when we're moving in. She showed me the post, so proud of my future son-in-law Marcus for buying his first home. Can't wait to see Sarah settled in that beautiful craftsman. Finally, a man who plans for the future. House Red Heart # proud mom moment # Marcus and Sarah. 43 likes already. Sarah's entire extended family was seeing this, along with her mom's book club, her coworkers, probably half of Portland at this point. The comments were pouring in. Congratulations, Marcus. When's the housewarming party? Sarah, you landed a good one. A man who can buy a house at 28. Linda, you raised her right. She knows how to pick them. That kitchen is gorgeous. Sarah must be over the moon. Each comment was another nail in the coffin of their secret relationship. Sarah's family was publicly celebrating my success while she was standing in a park having just destroyed our relationship for a guy who'd borrowed money from his parents under false pretenses. How do I explain this to them? Sarah whispered. My mom just called you her future son-in-law in front of 200 people. Jake finished his call and walked back over, his face grim. My dad wants to have lunch tomorrow. He says we need to discuss my pattern of financial decision-making. What did you tell him about the deposit? That it's refundable, Jake lied. I couldn't tell him we already committed to a place I can't afford. My phone buzzed with a call from Sarah's mom. Linda's name flashed on the screen, along with her contact photo, a selfie we'd taken at Christmas dinner, her arm around both Sarah and me. Don't answer it, Sarah said quickly. But I was tired of the lies. Tired of letting other people control the narrative of my own life. Hi Linda, I said, accepting the call. Marcus. Sweetheart. I just saw the article in the Oregonian. Why didn't you tell us you were looking at houses? Her voice was bright with excitement, completely unaware that her daughter was standing 3 feet away with mascara streaked down her cheeks. It was supposed to be a surprise, I said, looking directly at Sarah. Oh, how romantic. Sarah must be absolutely thrilled. Is she there? Can I talk to her? Sarah was shaking her head frantically, waving her hands. She's here, I said. But Linda, I think you should know that Sarah and I are having some problems right now, Sarah interrupted, grabbing the phone from my hand. Hi Mom. No, everything's fine. We're just working through some things. Yes, the house is beautiful. Jake was staring at his phone again, his face cycling through various shades of panic. My mom's texting now. She wants to know if we should return the deposit money to help you with moving expenses. The absurdity was breathtaking. Jake's parents wanted to return the money they'd loaned him for his secret apartment so he could help me with the house he just learned about while I was breaking up with the girl he'd been sleeping with for 2 months. Sarah handed my phone back. My mom wants to plan a housewarming party. She's already texting my aunts. I stared at my phone, watching a group text from Sarah's extended family materialize in real time. Aunt Carol, Linda showed me the article. When's the housewarming? Cousin Jennifer, OMG the kitchen island is goals. Sarah you're so lucky. Uncle Mike, smart investment, Marcus. Real estate's only going up in Portland. Each message felt like a small explosion. In the span of 30 minutes, what was supposed to be my private surprise had become a public celebration involving dozens of people who had no idea they were congratulating me on the same day my relationship imploded. We have to tell them, Sarah said quietly, reading over my shoulder as more congratulations poured in. We can't let this go on. Tell them what exactly? I asked. That you've been cheating for 2 months while I was saving for our future. Or just that you're moving in with Jake on Friday. Jake's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it and his face went ashen. Melissa's lawyer just sent a formal notice. Emergency hearing scheduled for Monday morning to address modification of spousal support terms. That fast? Sarah asked. Her neighbor didn't just see us moving boxes, Jake said miserably. She took pictures. Melissa's lawyer has photographic evidence of me loading your furniture into my car, timestamped from last weekend. The legal noose was tightening. I pulled up the court records database on my phone, a habit from helping Jake with his divorce research. Emergency hearings for support modification typically happen when there's evidence of material misrepresentation, I read aloud. If the judge determines you deliberately hid a change in living circumstances. What happens then? Sarah interrupted. Best case scenario. Support continues at the current rate indefinitely. Worst case. Melissa can petition for retroactive payments back to when cohabitation began, plus attorney fees. Jake's hands were shaking as he calculated. Retroactive payments, that could be $3,000 immediately, plus $1,800 monthly going forward. My phone rang. Danny's name flashed on the screen, and I realized our friend group was probably exploding with questions about the house article. I declined the call, but 3 more came in immediately, Tom, Alex, and Mike from our weekly poker game. Everyone's calling you, Sarah observed. Because Jake told them we were having problems, remember? Now they're seeing that I bought a house and trying to figure out if they should congratulate me or offer condolences. Another text thread was forming, this one in our poker group chat. Tom, dude Marcus, sick house. Why didn't you tell us you were closing? Mike, wait, is this the place you've been saving for? You actually did it. Alex, Jake, thought you said Marcus and Sarah were struggling financially. This doesn't look like struggling. Jake read the messages over my shoulder and winced. I never said you were struggling financially. I said you guys seem to have different priorities about money. Different priorities, I repeated. Like me prioritizing our future while you prioritized sleeping with my girlfriend. Sarah's phone rang, her sister Kate calling back. She answered reluctantly. Hi. No, I can't talk about the party planning right now. Because it's complicated. Kate, please just tell Mom to hold off on inviting people. Jake was scrolling through his missed calls. My brother, both parents, 2 cousins, and my ex-roommate from college. Words getting out fast. I watched the social media notifications multiply on my phone. Someone had shared the Oregonian article to Facebook, and it was getting likes and comments from people I hadn't talked to in years. High school classmates, former coworkers, college friends, all celebrating my success while I stood in a park realizing that everything I'd worked toward had been destroyed by the 2 people I'd trusted most. This is insane, Sarah said, hanging up with her sister. Kate says 3 different people have sent her the article. Everyone thinks we're moving in together. Because that was the plan, I said. That was always the plan. Jake's phone rang again, his father calling back. This time Jake answered immediately, walking out of earshot. I could see him gesturing frantically, probably trying to explain why he'd borrowed money for an apartment when his friend had just bought a house. Marcus, Sarah said quietly, I know I don't have the right to ask this, but can we not tell people about us until after the weekend? My family's already planning celebration dinners. My grandmother's driving up from Eugene specifically to congratulate you. The audacity was stunning. You want me to pretend we're still together so your family doesn't ask uncomfortable questions? Just until I can figure out how to explain this without everyone thinking I'm an idiot. You are an idiot, Sarah. The words came out harsher than I intended, but I was beyond caring about her feelings. You want me to lie to your grandmother? The woman who knitted me a sweater for Christmas because she was so excited about us getting married? Sarah's face crumpled, but before she could respond, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number with a 503 area code. Portland local. I almost declined it, but something made me answer. Is this Marcus Chin? The voice was professional, female. Yes, who's this? Hi Marcus, this is Jennifer Walsh from Portland Monthly. I'm calling about the Craftsman you just purchased on Maple Street. We're doing a feature on young professionals buying historic homes, and your property caught our attention. Would you be available for a brief interview and photo shoot this weekend? My stomach dropped. Portland Monthly had a circulation of over 150,000. Sarah and Jake were staring at me with matching expressions of horror as they caught enough of the conversation to understand what was happening. Can I call you back? I managed. I'm kind of in the middle of something. Of course. I'll send you my contact information. This would just be a short piece about your renovation plans and what drew you to historic properties. Very positive coverage. Congratulations on the purchase, by the way. That's quite an accomplishment at 28. She hung up, and Jake immediately grabbed my arm. Please tell me you're not doing a magazine interview right now. Why not? I pulled away from his grip. Maybe I want people to know what I've accomplished while you 2 were playing house with my stuff. Sarah's phone started ringing again, her mom for the 3rd time in 20 minutes. This time Sarah answered with visible resignation. Hi Mom. Yes, I saw your Facebook post. No, don't call the caterer yet. Mom, please listen to me. She walked away again, her voice rising in frustration. I caught fragments, it's not that simple, no, we haven't set a date. Mom, stop planning things. Jake's phone buzzed with a text from his brother David, Dad's pissed. Says you borrowed $9K to rent a place when your friend just bought a house cash. Wants to know if you've lost your mind completely. Your family's starting to connect the dots, I observed. This is spiraling out of control, Jake muttered, running his hands through his hair for the dozenth time. The lease signing is in 2 days. Melissa's emergency hearing is Monday. My parents think I'm having a breakdown. And now you might be in Portland Monthly talking about your perfect fucking house. My perfect fucking house that you could have been living in rent-free if you kept your dick in your pants, I shot back. Jake's phone rang, his father again. This time he let it go to voicemail. Immediately, another call came in from his mother. He declined that one too. They're not going to stop calling, I pointed out. Your dad sounded pretty determined. What am I supposed to tell them? That I've been lying for 2 months about everything while making the worst financial decision of my life. My phone buzzed with another text from the poker group. Alex, Marcus, why didn't you invite us to see the place? We could help you move furniture this weekend. Tom, dude, we need to celebrate. First round's on me Friday night. Friday night. The same night Jake and Sarah were supposed to sign their lease. The same weekend Portland Monthly wanted to do a photo shoot of my beautiful, empty house. You know what? I said, looking at both of them as Sarah walked back over with tears streaming down her face. I think I will do that interview. And I'll make sure to mention how I saved for 18 months to buy a home for my future family. Marcus, don't, Sarah pleaded. This will destroy everything. Everything's already destroyed. I'm just deciding whether to clean up the mess quietly or let everyone see what you two really are. Jake's phone buzzed with a voicemail notification. He put it on speaker without thinking, probably hoping for support from someone, anyone. His father's voice filled the air between us, tight with disappointment. Jake, your mother and I need to understand what's happening. We loaned you that money because you said you needed a fresh start after the divorce. Now we're reading about Marcus buying a house, Jake, while you're asking us for rent money. Call me back in the next hour or we're driving over there. The ultimatum hung in the spring air. Jake's parents lived in Beaverton, 45 minutes away. If he didn't call back soon, this whole confrontation was about to get a lot more crowded. An hour, Sarah said, checking her phone. It's 7:15 now. My phone rang again, this time it was my sister calling from Seattle. I almost declined, but realized she'd probably seen the article too. Everyone in my life was going to find out about this eventually. Hey Lisa, I answered. Marcus. Oh my god, I just saw the Oregonian piece. You bought the Maple Street house. Her voice was bright with excitement. I remember you showing me photos of that place at Christmas. You said it was your dream house but too expensive. I could see Sarah listening to every word, her face growing paler. Yeah, I closed last week. That's incredible. Sarah must be absolutely thrilled. I can't wait to see it when I visit next month. Is she there? I want to congratulate her too. Next month. My sister was planning to visit next month, expecting to stay in my guest room and meet her future sister-in-law. Another person whose expectations I'd have to manage. She's here, but we're kind of in the middle of something. Oh. Are you celebrating? I don't want to interrupt. Just tell her I'm so excited for you both. A house at 28, Marcus. Mom and Dad are going to flip when they find out. My parents, who were currently on a cruise somewhere in the Mediterranean, blissfully unaware that their son had just made the biggest purchase of his life and lost his girlfriend on the same day. Actually, Lisa, don't tell them yet. I want to surprise them when they get back from the cruise. Too late, she laughed. I already texted Mom. She's probably showing the article to everyone on the ship by now. You know how proud she gets. My stomach dropped. My mother was literally showing strangers my house purchase while I stood in a park finding out that my entire relationship had been a lie. Lisa, I have to go. Wait. One more thing. I was thinking we could plan a family housewarming party when Mom and Dad get back. Maybe invite the Portland cousins. It's been forever since we all got together, and this is such perfect timing. A family housewarming party. With my parents, my sister, 6 cousins, and their kids, all expecting to meet Sarah and celebrate our future together. We'll talk about it later, I managed, hanging up. Jake was staring at his phone like it might spontaneously combust. My dad's calling again. Answer it, Sarah said. If they drive over here, this gets 10 times worse. But as Jake reached for his phone, another call came through on mine. The caller ID made my blood freeze, Sarah's mom. Linda was calling me directly now, probably with specific questions about moving timelines and housewarming dates. Sarah saw the name on my screen and looked like she might throw up. Don't answer that either, she whispered. But I was tired of avoiding the inevitable. I was tired of protecting people who hadn't protected me. Hi Linda, I said, accepting the call while making direct eye contact with Sarah. What can I do for you? Marcus, honey, I'm so confused. Sarah keeps saying you two are working through things, but you just bought a house. Are you two having problems, or are you planning a future together? Because I've already called the church about potential wedding dates, and Father McKenna wants to meet with you both before. Linda, I interrupted gently, I think Sarah needs to have a conversation with you about our relationship status. What does that mean? Linda's voice shifted from excited to concerned. Marcus, you're scaring me. What's going on? I looked at Sarah, who was shaking her head frantically, tears streaming down her face. Sarah will explain everything, I said. But Linda, I want you to know that I love your family, and I'm sorry things didn't work out the way we all hoped. The silence on the other end was deafening. Marcus, Linda's voice was barely a whisper. Are you breaking up with my daughter? Ask her, I said quietly, and hung up. Sarah's phone started ringing immediately. Sarah stared at her ringing phone like it was a bomb about to explode. Her mother's name flashed on the screen over and over. After the 6th ring, it went to voicemail, then immediately started ringing again. Answer it, Jake said. You have to answer it eventually. And tell her what exactly. Sarah's voice cracked. That I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me for a guy who can't afford his own life. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister, Marcus, Mom just called me crying happy tears. She's so proud of you. She's already planning to fly back early from the cruise to see the house. This is the best news ever. House red heart. Early from the cruise. My mother was going to cut short her dream vacation to celebrate a milestone in my relationship that no longer existed. The ripple effects just kept expanding. Jake's phone rang again, his father, now 40 minutes into the ultimatum deadline. This time Jake answered. Dad, I can explain, Jake started, but was immediately cut off. I could hear his father's voice through the speaker, louder and angrier than before. No more explanations, Jacob. Your mother and I are in the car. We'll be there in 30 minutes. You're going to tell us exactly what you've done with that money and why you're making these decisions while your friend is buying property. Dad, don't come here. Parking lot of Riverside Park, by the oak trees. Your mother tracked your location. The line went dead. They're coming here. Sarah asked in horror. Mom uses Find My Friends, Jake said miserably. I forgot I never turned off location sharing after the divorce. I pulled up my calculator app again, this time for my own situation. Portland monthly interview on Saturday. My sister visiting next month. My parents coming back from their cruise early. Sarah's family planning a wedding timeline. Each item felt like a weight being added to a scale. This isn't going away quietly. Sarah's phone buzzed with a text from her sister Kate. Mom's having a meltdown. She says Marcus hung up on her and you won't answer your phone. She's convinced you're pregnant and scared to tell her. Call her. Pregnant. Sarah read the text aloud. Why would she think? Her face went white. Oh God. Last month I canceled dinner because I was feeling sick. And I've been weird about wine lately because Jake and I kept meeting at restaurants and I was nervous. Your mom thinks you're pregnant with my baby while we're secretly house shopping, I said, the absurdity hitting me like a physical blow. This just keeps getting better. Jake was pacing in tight circles. My parents will be here in 25 minutes. Melissa's lawyer is preparing for Monday's hearing. The lease signing is Friday morning, and we still owe first month's rent. Sarah's family thinks she's pregnant. And Marcus is about to be featured in Portland Monthly as Portland's youngest successful homeowner. Don't forget the poker group, I added. They're planning a celebration party for Friday night. Same night you're supposed to get keys to your financial disaster. My phone rang again. This time it was Danny from our friend group, probably calling with more questions about the house. I let it go to voicemail, but immediately another call came in from Alex. Then Tom. They're not going to stop calling until they get answers, I told Jake. You've made me the center of drama in our entire social circle. Sarah finally answered her phone when her mother called for the 8th time. Mom, please don't cry. No, I'm not pregnant. No, Marcus and I aren't secretly married. Mom, listen to me. She walked away again, but this time I could hear her voice rising in frustration. Because it's complicated. Because I made a mistake. Because there was a long pause. Mom, I can't explain this over the phone. Jake's hands were shaking as he checked the time. 22 minutes until my parents get here. Marcus, please, can you help me figure out what to say to them? The audacity was breathtaking. Help you figure out how to explain that you've been lying to them while destroying my life. No, Jake. I'm done helping you with anything. They loaned me that money because they thought I was getting my life together after the divorce. If they find out about Sarah, about the lease we can't afford, about Melissa's lawyer, they'll never trust me again. They shouldn't trust you again, I said flatly. You've proven you make the same catastrophic decisions over and over. Sarah walked back over, tears streaming down her face. My mom's driving here too. She hung up when I started trying to explain about us. She said she needs to see both of us in person to understand what's happening. Both of your parents are coming here? I asked. 20 minutes, Jake said, checking his phone again. 15 for my mom, Sarah added. She was closer. I looked around the park, imagining the scene about to unfold. Two sets of angry, confused parents confronting their adult children about lies, financial disasters, and relationship betrayals, while I stood there holding the keys to a house that was supposed to be our shared future. You know what? I said, pulling out my phone. I'm calling Jennifer Walsh back. Portland Monthly wants to do their interview this weekend. Perfect timing. They can ask me about what it's like to discover your girlfriend's been cheating while you're building a life for both of you. Marcus, no, Sarah pleaded. Please don't make this public. It's already public. Your mom posted about it on Facebook, remember? The whole world thinks we're moving in together. I scrolled through my contacts to find the number Jennifer Walsh had texted me. At least this way, they'll know the truth. Jake's face went ashen. If that article mentions Sarah and me, Melissa's lawyer will use it in court. It'll be documented proof that we were planning cohabitation while I was lying about my living situation. Not my problem anymore, I said, hitting dial. Jennifer. Hi, it's Marcus Chin. About that interview, I'd love to do it. I kept my eyes locked on Sarah and Jake as I spoke. Actually, I have a great angle for your story. What it's like to buy your dream home as a surprise for someone, only to discover they've been living a completely different life behind your back. Jennifer's voice brightened with interest. Oh, that sounds like a compelling human interest angle. Relationship challenges around major purchases. Something like that. When can we schedule the shoot? How about Saturday morning? Say 10 a.m. We'd love to get photos of you in the kitchen, that's always a popular feature. Perfect. See you then. I hung up and smiled at their horrified faces. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Portland Monthly will have the full story. A car pulled into the parking lot, Sarah's mom's silver Honda. Linda Walsh stepped out looking frazzled and determined, her graying hair slightly disheveled from what had clearly been a rush trip. Shit, Sarah whispered. She's here. 2 minutes later, a second car arrived. Jake's parents, both looking grim as they approached our little group under the oak tree. His father, Robert, was a tall man with graying temples who'd always intimidated me slightly. His mother, Carol, looked like she'd been crying. Jacob, Robert called out as they got closer. We need to talk. Now. And Sarah, Linda added, her voice tight with confusion and hurt. I need someone to explain to me what's happening with my daughter's life. The four parents converged on us like a storm front. I found myself in the surreal position of being the only person present who wasn't about to get interrogated by family. Mrs. Walsh, I said gently, before anyone else could speak. I think Sarah has something she needs to tell you. Marcus bought a house, Sarah blurted out, as if that explained everything. The one we walked past. The craftsman with the wraparound porch. Linda's face lit up momentarily. The beautiful one on Maple Street. Oh sweetheart, that's wonderful. When do you move in? We don't, Sarah said quietly. We broke up. The silence that followed was deafening. Linda's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and dawning horror. But you just bought a house together, she said to me. I saw the article. I posted about it on Facebook. I bought it for us, I corrected. As a surprise. But there is no us anymore. Sarah's been seeing Jake for 2 months. Jake's father turned to stare at his son, his face darkening. The money we loaned you. The fresh start after your divorce. You've been lying to us about everything. We can explain, Jake started. No, Robert cut him off. You borrowed $9,000 from us under false pretenses while your friend was making responsible financial decisions. Again. My phone buzzed with a text from Danny. Dude, where are you? The whole group's trying to reach you. We want to plan a housewarming party. I held up my phone. This is what happens when you make good choices, I said to both sets of parents. My friends want to celebrate with me. Your kids are about to sign a lease they can't afford while Jake's ex-wife takes him back to court. Linda was staring at Sarah like she'd never seen her before. You threw away Marcus. Marcus, who just bought you a house. I didn't know about the house, Sarah said weakly. Because you were too busy sneaking around with Jake to pay attention to what was actually happening in your relationship, I replied. Carol, Jake's mother, spoke for the first time. The apartment in the Pearl District. That's what you needed our money for. To move in with your friend's girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend, I corrected. As of about an hour ago. Robert pulled out his phone. Jacob, you have 24 hours to return our money. All of it. Dad, I can't. We already paid the deposit. Then you'd better hope that lease has a cancellation clause. Robert turned to me. Marcus, I'm sorry our son dragged you into his mess. Again. Linda was scrolling through her phone, probably looking at the Facebook post that was still collecting congratulations from people who had no idea they were celebrating the end of my relationship. I have to delete this post, she said, her voice hollow. And call off the family dinner. And tell your sister Kate that there won't be a wedding to plan for. Sarah started crying again, but this time it felt different. Not manipulative tears meant to make me feel guilty, but genuine grief for everything she'd lost. My phone rang one more time. This time I answered it with confidence. Marcus? It was my sister Lisa. I just got a weird call from Sarah's mom. She said something about a breakup. But you just bought a house. Yeah, I did buy a house. A beautiful house that I'll get to enjoy all by myself while Sarah and Jake figure out how to pay $6,600 a month in rent. Wait, what? She left you for Jake. Jake who borrowed money from you for his divorce. The same Jake. But don't worry about me, Lisa. I'm doing great. I own my dream house, I have a magazine interview on Saturday, and I just got rid of the two most toxic people in my life. Oh my god, Marcus. I'm so sorry. But also, good for you. This actually sounds like you won. I looked around at the chaos, Sarah sobbing, Jake getting lectured by his father, Linda staring at her phone in shock, Carol shaking her head in disappointment. Yeah, I said, a genuine smile spreading across my face for the first time in months. I think I did win. The house was mine, the future was mine, and they were welcome to their overpriced rental and their mountain of debt. I had never felt more free.